So. Brother Cam Newton had DeVon Franklin come on his podcast recently, and DeVon was talking all things marriage and faith. And I personally have never seen anything. I personally never seen DeVon I've never seen from DeVon Franklin's perspective talk about the fallout of him and Megan's divorce. Now, I've seen Megan talk about it. I did a whole video about it. Y'all go check that out on my YouTube. All right. I'm pointing to the top of the screen for when I do this clip later. Anyways, I never seen Megan talk about this. So, I mean, I've seen Megan talk about this, rather, but I never seen DeVon talk about this. And so he went on Cam's podcast, and they get into, like, what happened in the aftermath after him and Megan's divorce. So, great traction on YouTube, so I was like, yo, I want to watch this, and I wanted to talk about it with chats. So here we are to discuss it. Y'all be sure to like and subscribe.
What was done was a separation from a relationship and a divorce, and I'm not going to dwell on that. What I am going to dwell on is how did you find yourself, and how did you give yourself confidence to pick yourself up,
right,
and find love in a way where now you're married, now you're glowing, and how? Because that's what I want to know. I ain't got, man, I can.
DeVon.
Break this.
Right.
Married?
Yeah. Okay, let's get into it.
So that's really my question.
So how do I even begin to answer that question? I'll tell you. So it started with even before divorce, having an understanding that where I am at that point in time, I couldn't see the future, but I knew that where I was and kind of what was going on in the turmoil I was in, that I had to do something. So part of the choice and the process began at that point in time, making a decision to do something, making a decision that I believe would be in my best interest by emotional health, mental health, physical health, all of spiritual health.
Yes, sir.
So coming out of, the marriage and then dealing with divorce, one, I just had to sit in it. I mean, I ended up, living in a hotel for about a year by myself, right there in West Hollywood, overlooking Sunset Boulevard. And I would come in, and there was a chair that overlooked the sunset as the people would be driving up and down.
Yeah.
And I would just sit there, and I would look out the window and say, how did I get here? What I had to retrace my steps. And so often it's very easy when you go through something to point to the other person and say, well, what they didn't do. But that really doesn't do anybody any good. And I realized that's not going to help me. I got to look at, well, what did I do? What was my role here? What are the things that are opportunities for growth? But part of it was just sitting in it and feeling it and not being afraid to see. What I mean by that is the mirror is one of the scariest things for us.
Wow.
Because we can put somebody else in the mirror and tell them what they need to fix.
Easy, like look at them,
change
look at
this.
them boots.
Right,
Like,
right,
they scuffed.
right.
Yeah.
But to stand or sit in the mirror of our life and look at ourselves, that is sometimes the hardest thing to do. So for me, that's what I chose. I said, okay, this is not what I prayed for. If you would have asked me, 10 years before, would this ever happen? I would have said no, but here's where we are. So in order to even begin any sort of rebuild, it starts with the sitting, and it starts with the feeling and the acknowledging. The other part of it is when you get hit, right? I mean, you played, right? So when you get hit and you're hurt, you can act like you're not hurt, but saying I'm hurt actually helps you get the healing that you need.
Right.
So for me, emotionally, when we go through things, a lot of times we don't want to show that we're hurt. And I had to say, forget all that, man. I'm going to get all the vanity out of my victory. I'm hurt.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to be afraid to acknowledge that, because in the acknowledging of the pain is where then I can get healing.
Right.
So then what I had to do was take it one step at a time. What did that look like? Therapy. just like retracing my steps, working with my therapist, working with the life coach. Like, okay, how do I begin to figure out, well, who is DeVon and where is DeVon gonna go? Writing, reading the word, journaling, getting spiritual counsel. These were the things that I had to do. And then the other part of it is grace and space. I had to give myself the same grace that I need from God. And I had to give myself the space to allow myself to heal. And I think that sometimes that's what we run from. We're running from what we don't want to face.
For sure.
But anything we're in denial about, we empower to destroy us. And for me, I was like, okay, if I don't get the lesson about what this is, what's here for me,
For sure.
if I don't get this lesson, then this same DeVon is going to show up in another relationship, going to show up on another job, and whatever he's not fixing now, that's going to disrupt whatever he gets then.
Right.
So for me, I had to just go through a process of allowing myself to feel so that I could heal. And that healing process took time.
Right.
It just took time. But the thing that I will say that I did as well is I just kept my heart open. I didn't allow myself to get cynical, I was angry at times.
Right.
But, there's a scripture that says, be angry and sin not, right? So it's like, okay, yeah, you can be angry, but be careful what you do with that anger.
Wow.
And so for me, there were moments of anger, but I never let that be a reason to close my heart,
Right.
to become callous, to become vindictive in any way. It was like, okay, yeah, I'm in pain, but I'm gonna keep my heart open.
Yeah.
And as I kept my heart open and as I worked on that healing, then what happened is it's like you start to get aligned with, people, places, circumstances, situations that are in alignment with the work that you're doing.
Yeah.
And so as I started to get in alignment and heal on the inside, my whole life started to reflect that.
Yeah.
And when you talk about, now, being married and meeting Maria. And so when you talk to even that earlier question about, well, is it realistic? I'm like, yeah, because right now, I'm living the most unrealistic, realistic marriage ever because it's just incredible. It's beyond anything I could have ever hoped, prayed for, or even thought about. And the reason why I believe that is true is because there's a process. And the work that I'm doing and have done on myself then aligns me with the very people that are doing similar work.
Okay, I have several things about this that I want to address. First off, he didn't really go into specifically why they divorced. And even Meagan is kind of iffy about the reason why. But I do appreciate the fact that he took the time out to go and do the work on himself. I appreciate the time that he took to get his mind mentally right and whatnot, and that he was able to heal and move on from whatever hurt and pain that he did through with Meagan. So W to that. Now, the thing that I'm having a hard time with this about is, and there is a scripture about this, is when first off, whenever him and Meagan talk about their marriage, it seems like they moved on simply because that they were unhappy. And Jesus said so himself that divorce is not allowed unless it's on the grounds of infidelity. So unless there was infidelity involved, according to what Jesus said, then divorce shouldn't be a thing. Especially with him being being an esteemed man of God. I think he's a pastor. I'm not entirely sure, but Jesus is very clear about how we should go about, divorce. Jesus only. Let me just show y'all. Okay, here we go. All right, here we go. Okay. So, right here, Jesus says so himself. He says, Moses permitted you to divorce your wives because your hearts were hardened, but it was not this way from the beginning. And I tell you that anyone who divorces his wife except for sexual immorality and marries another woman commits adultery. So by this definition, y'all, DeVon Franklin is, committing adultery. You know what I'm saying? Because again, and it might, I don't know who cheated. Megan could have cheated on him, or he could have cheated, whatever. But it seems like they just moved on because they were unhappy and misaligned. And Jesus, as you can see here, speaks against that. He goes, basically saying you're not allowed to divorce like that except for sexual immorality, i.e. infidelity or like stepping outside of the marriage. And so, maybe that it is what happened in their marriage. I don't know. Again, they don't talk about it. But there's another scripture though that came to mind when he talked about this. And again, it kind of goes into this. It's in Romans, I believe. Let's see. Oh, here we go. All right. So it says so right here in Romans 7:2-3. For a married woman is bound by law to her husband while he lives, but if her husband dies, she is released from the law of marriage. Accordingly, she will be called an adulteress if she lives with another man while her husband is alive. But if her husband dies, she is free from that law, and if she knows another man, she's not an adulteress. So it bothers me that they both have kind of moved on to other people when the Bible is very clear on its stance on divorce and remarriage. So, hey, I don't know. I did not write the Bible. You know what I'm saying? I'm only going off of what it says, and it's the only thing I can go off of. It is the thing to go off of. So, do I subscribe to what DeVon Franklin is doing with that? No, but like I said, I'm glad that he was able to heal from that, to heal from his marriage with Meagan, and was able to move forward. How he has moved forward. Not necessarily biblically sound. Not necessarily biblically sound. And maybe he doesn't know that. Maybe he's ignorant to it. I don't know. But, the law, the scripture comes first and foremost, man. So I just say this as to those who are looking to get into marriage or are unsure of the person that they're with going into marriage. You better know. If you call yourself a believer and you talking about getting married, you better know. Because once you say the I do's and that ring get put on that left finger, that's it. That is it. So that's my 2 cents on that one. That is my 2 cents on that one. I'm not gonna go any further detail on that. Listen, God bless DeVon Franklin and his life, Meagan Good, and in their lives. I pray that they continue to heal from their experience with each other, and that the Lord has mercy on them moving forward. That's all I can say. That is all I can say.